lady. Everybody's rolling in. Welcome to the fourth month of the Black Mother Wound Monthly Healing Class Series. I will ask if you've been on any of the other classes, I ask that you turn your videos on so we can go ahead and get that going so we can see everyone's wonderful faces. I love it. Yes, ma'am. I respect everyone's time, including my own. So we are going to get this show started. I don't know if you are new to this community or you've been around, if you've seen me on Instagram, or if you found me through the Black Girls Heal podcast, or you're one of my clients, but my name is Jennifer Arnice, and I am an author. I wrote a book 3 years ago, maybe, called Fuck That Cape, The Grown Woman's Unapologetic Guide to Putting Herself First. And that book is where I was dispelling the myth of the strong Black woman and giving us other options. And then I realized, oh my God, my mother, that's her. She was a strong Black woman. Oh, she passed that shit down to me. Oh, there's a problem. We always had a challenging relationship. I wonder if there's a connection. And that's when I dove headfirst into the Black mother wound work. I was familiar with the mother wound, but I realized that the Black mother, the strong Black woman, there was something different about our experiences of Black women. And I wanted to figure out what that was for myself. And I am, because I'm always on a healing journey. I was a sexual assault survivor when I was 17, and I was imprisoned in that experience because I didn't share. And when I began to share my experience is where my healing came in. And then I was like, well, maybe the same thing will work when I start talking about the painful relationship with my mother. And lo and behold, I was not the only one. There were other people out here who were having these same experiences that I was having. And they were like identical. We were just complete reflections of each other. And so I just continued to do the work, continued to share, and this community just continued to grow and look up. And here we are now doing these monthly classes, and I offer one-on-one coaching. And I have my first group course is going to open in June. So I'm just really pleased that me sharing my story is also helping others, and that we're forming this community. I'm committed to centering the stories of Black women. You can find things about the mother wound in other places, and that's awesome, and it's helpful. But a lot of times our unique experiences of having a Black mother get overlooked, or they're not acknowledged, or they're minimized, or they're seen as one-offs. So again, we're not seen and we're not centered. And for me, it's always been about centering our stories and us feeling heard and validated and acknowledged and believed. I think that's one of the first steps to healing. So that's why I continue to do this work. And I'm happy that you guys are here. And I'm going to put my phone on vibrate. So how many people here, this is your first class with me? Just by a show of hands. Okay, welcome, 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 welcome. Hopefully it's not your last. And we have the chat section over here. And so if you just be aware of that down at the bottom, because throughout the class, I'll ask you questions and I want you to answer in the chat. If you don't know how to use Zoom, just go ahead and kind of acclimate yourself there. Or if you have questions while we're talking, you can put them over there and I'll try and answer them as we go along, or sometimes they'll get answered. I love the group experience because when you have a Black mother wound, oftentimes you suffer in silence. There's so much shame associated with it, and you believe that you're the only person going through it. And you don't want to talk about it. And you don't want to tell anybody because you don't want them to think that you're rude, disrespectful, ungrateful. Just you don't talk about your mama in our community. You just don't do it. It's sacrilegious, right? But when we're in this group setting, we get to be a witness to someone else's pain and someone else's healing, and somebody gets to be a witness to our pain and our healing. And we get to see, oh, this is normal. Oh, I'm not the only one going through this. Oh, I'm not crazy. Oh, I thought the same thing. I just never had the words to describe it. And, you know, possibly what Janelle is going through, Rachel has words for. And it's like, oh my God, you know, and it just helps us all heal collectively, because healing doesn't happen in the mind. Healing happens in the heart. It's not linear. And then it's expressed through the body. If you're not expressing your healing through your body, through change behavior, then you're not really healing. You're just a researcher. You're a healing researcher. And so this class today is not about research. It's not about theory. It's not just about talking about what's wrong. We do the healing work in this class. That is what we do. And we do it from about to start in a couple of minutes until the end of the class. So I show people what has helped me and what my clients do and what helps them. And we just move on from there. I always say that, you know, healing an emotional wound is like a physical wound, right? Who's ever been like cut before, even if it's just a small scratch, right? You may have to put some type of antibiotic ointment on it, but it will heal itself if you tend to it. If you clean it and you realize it's there and you do whatever you can do, the body has a self-healing mechanism. Your emotional body, your nervous system also has a self-healing mechanism. So what we do is we acknowledge the wound, and then we put salve on the wound, and then we allow it to heal itself. And it's the same thing with your body, that your emotional self, it works the same exact way. So with that being said, today's class is about tenderness. Who here, by a show of hands, would consider themselves to be someone, and your friends think that you're a very tender, you're a very soft and tender person? By a show of hands. Okay, I got one person, two people. Hi, ladies, my new ladies. If I can have you turn your video on. If you're driving or something like that, I understand it, but the video being on really just helps collectively, helps us all connect. Dominique, Crystal, Tatiana, and Deja. Yes. So I've got a couple people who are considered tender, and that's a blessing. If people look at you and they say, oh, you are, you a tenderoni. How many of y'all are strong Black women and y'all are tough, and everybody knows y'all are tough, and y'all don't take no shit. Y'all don't put up with nothing, period. Who are those people, right? Well, I'm in transition. I'm becoming tender and supple and all those good things. So I talk about, this is a unique thing, this whole strength, this whole lack of vulnerability that Black women have, that is rooted not just in gender, it's rooted more in race. Because white women, their thing is not being strong. You know, that's a Black woman thing that just from slavery passed down, this idea that we've had to literally survive physical torture. We've had to protect our children from physical torture, from lynchings and disrespect and all types of things, because we're Black in this world. And then if you're a woman, you're even lower on the totem pole. So that strength and that survival parenting is what a lot of us got, okay? And so it's passed down to us, and we have this concept that we believe, what are some of the reasons why it's difficult for us to be tender? No one's gonna be there for us, right? There's no one we can trust. Nobody understands what I'm going through. Whenever I trust people, they flake out. My mother wasn't there for me. And really, that's a big one. If my mother wasn't there for me and she didn't create the space for me to be tender, who can? Who will? Like, what's the point? Like, this is somebody who's known me since birth. And if I can't be tender around her, how will I ever be tender around anyone, you know? So ladies, and my new people coming in, Dominique says she's driving, she can't turn on her video, but any of my other ladies, if you could please turn your videos on. So what is tenderness? What does tenderness look like? In the chat, tell me what tenderness looks like to you. What I'm learning, tenderness for me is that, and this, I always use an example about driving because I live in Atlanta, so we always driving, right? And there's always traffic. Tenderness for me is if somebody cuts me off and I don't cuss them out. That I don't want to be like, get the hell out of my damn way. Why y'all do this? Yeah, you can't drive. Motherfuckers can't drive. This and that, right? If they cut me off and it's like, okay, she must have somewhere she need to go. I don't take it as an attack on myself. For me, that's what tenderness looks like. And when I can do that, what I'm really saying is I'm safe, because that's the fact, right? Because believing you can be tender is really a perception of safety, right? And so if you grew up with a very critical mother, an emotionally absent mother, a physically absent mother, a physically abusive mother, a verbally abusive mother, you did not grow up in an environment where you felt safe. And you weren't safe in some respects. You weren't safe to express yourself. You weren't safe to be yourself. You weren't safe to have your own emotions about things. You weren't safe to, sometimes it wasn't even safe to have a relationship with your own father if your mother was there, because it's like, well, damn, you know. So you're having to make these choices that you shouldn't have to make, that make you feel less safe. So you build a barrier of strength because those are parts of your survival skills, because you're powerless, right? Because as a child, you are powerless to the adults in your environment, right? But when you're an adult, if you haven't reconciled that, you are still a young girl who doesn't feel safe, who doesn't feel there's anyone she can trust, and she's still acting that out in her adult life. Does that make sense? Raise your hand if that makes sense. Right? So that's what's happening. Because when somebody cuts me off in traffic, it really doesn't impact me. It's not slowing down me getting where I'm going. I'm not in an accident. So what am I mad about? What do I think that they're taking away from me when they cut me off in traffic? Where am I losing control of my life in that? It's the perception. It's the unhealed, wounded girl who's gonna cuss them out and pull up next to them and shoot them the bird and do all this extra shit. That's not based off of what is happening in the moment. That is the wound acting out because it's been triggered, right? And so when you start to heal your Black mother, when you start to become aware of the different things that trigger you and why, okay? So we look at, what does tenderness look like? Okay, I like y'all. Y'all are some emotionally intelligent ladies up in here. I see the word vulnerability so much. I love that. I love it. Someone that can receive affection, absolutely soft and gentle, someone with grace. Okay, someone who is, I'm from the country, right? So it's like, either you can be an oak tree or you can be a willow tree. So an oak tree is just strong, right? Everybody, you know, hang trees from it, hang clothes from an oak tree, it doesn't move. A willow tree has strength, but it's very flexible. It blows with the wind. You can hear the sound of those leaves when it's blowing. And so tenderness is being more like that willow tree, right? Believing that life believing the life I want is the life I deserve. Yes, that absolutely takes tenderness, patience, and understanding. Absolutely, because you have to feel safe to be patient. You have to feel safe to be understanding. All of these things, right? And I always say this at the beginning, and if you're new to the work, you haven't heard this, but if you've been here for any time around this community, you know, healing your Black mother wound has nothing to do with your mother. Has nothing to do with getting your mother to agree that she fucked up and that she's wrong and that you want her to change her ways and she needs to do things differently when it comes to the relationship with you. That is not healing your Black mother wound. You're not doing this work so you can communicate it in a better way to show her and all those types of things. That's still the young girl in you trying to get approval from your mother, right? So healing your Black mother wound is all about gaining emotional autonomy. So you have control over your own emotions. You are not triggered by her emotions. You're not triggered by anybody's emotions. And you have your own emotions. You don't feel about yourself the way she feels about you because you all are still energetically connected by an umbilical cord, an energetic umbilical cord to where however she feels about you, whatever she said about you is still feeding you and you still believe that, right? And then which creates even more feelings of not being safe because that's your only source of sustenance, right? And that food makes you sick, but it's all that you have. So when we talk about tenderness, it is not about the past. It is about how we can create an environment, how we can create an ecosystem internally that allows us to love on ourselves, right? To be kind to ourselves, we know we have our guards up against other people, but you don't realize you have your guard up against yourself as well. When you say that you're not good enough for the job, when you don't think you're doing good as a parent, when you think you should be further along, when you have an idea and you don't follow through, all of these things are a guard that you're putting up against yourself. So you not being tender keeps you from not only having meaningful relationships with others, it keeps you from having a meaningful relationship with yourself, keeps you from having a partnership with yourself. And when you don't have a partnership with yourself, what can you get done in your life? You can't get shit done. You don't even realize, when you're doing it by yourself, you doing it not even with yourself, by yourself separated.
Jennifer, I'm sorry, I have a quick question. Could you repeat the definition of where you said about tenderness? I was trying to write it down.
Okay, I'm not sure which
you said, how can you create, you said that tenderness means how you can create an environment, and then.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Thank you, sorry.
That's okay. So tenderness is about creating an environment and an ecosystem in yourself where you can love on yourself, where there's a gentleness, right? Who here is a parent? Raised by show of hands. So you know when you have a baby and the baby is like a week old, how you just hold it, how you so soft with it, and you just want to smell it. You just like, ooh, you have no expectations of this child. Of course you want the baby to sleep, but you like, whatever you want, I'm here. And they just, you just want to, That's tenderness, right? You have to realize that you are your baby, right? So imagine that young baby and you just let it sit and cry. You just leave it on the bed, it roll off the bed, fall on the floor, it's whatever, because you got other shit to do. It don't matter, right? That's the opposite of tenderness, right? So this is really about, and you don't do it just because it's nice to have, right? I always tell people that your Black mother wound is affecting every area of your life. It's affecting how you show up at your job, how you show up with your kids, how you show up with your man, or the man that you want, how you show up online dating, how you show up with the food you put in your mouth, how you show up with, if you want to be an entrepreneur and you have ideas, it's like, can you be decisive? Can you make a decision? Can you follow through? Do you trust yourself? All of these things are wrapped up into your Black mother wound, right? So it's not just about how you feel or how you feel when you think about your mother or deal with your mother. That's secondary, okay? It affects all of your mental health. Absolutely, Crystal. So tenderness sets the tone for all of the other healing. Okay, it's like the soil that you're going to plant everything else in. It's the first thing. Remember, you talk about a baby. That's the first thing you do to a baby is you hold it. It's the very first thing you do. You stroke it, you caress it. So that is how important the tenderness is, right? So this is what we're going to do. I want you to think about when you stopped being tender, when you turned tough, right? Close your eyes. It might be, you could be like, oh, when I became a teenager. You might have a specific age, or you have an age range where you just like, fuck it. You were rage filled, you were fighting, you were obstinate. They said you were being rebellious. You didn't want to listen. You were bad. When was it that you stopped feeling tender? When you stopped feeling innocent? And just drop that in the chat. Just drop the age in the chat that you were. I just want the age. Okay, so we've got some good ranges. We have like late adolescence, 9, 10, 11, and then 12, and then those early teenage years where it's almost, we look at tenderness as something, hold 1 second. I love when the Amazon man brings me my packages, but he was just not, his timing was not the best. So we think that growing up and being responsible and being an adult, we look at tenderness as something we have to put to the side, like it's a liability, right? But actually, it is one of your superpowers because it's how you have access to your intuition. Okay, so when you look at this age group, this is an age group where you start to have a different experience with the outside world, right? Puberty is happening around this time, right? You're having more ideas. You might be more expressive, and those things might be inhibited or they're not met with support. And you need even more reassurance. But I think a lot of times in the Black community, especially with Black girls, our sense of responsibility starts so young where we have to be turned into adults. You're taking care of siblings, you're washing clothes, you're a latchkey kid. Your parents are like, oh, you old enough to do this by yourself, and then school is harder because they're treating you more of an adult at school. So you don't get baby there either. So you're just in this gap where no one is there to acknowledge the need that you still have to be soothed, for tenderness, for understanding, for somebody to be like, how was your day today? Like it's over for us because there's no one there to, prime that pump, right? So what are some of the things that happen around this time that kind of stunted your ability to be tender, right? And put that in the chat as well. And then we're gonna use that information for an exercise.
Can you explain the question one more time, please?
At what age? Well, we have like the age where you stop feeling tender, but was there an incident? Did something happen? And a lot of times as adults, we look back and it's like, well, that's not really a big deal, but it was a big deal to a 10-year-old, So, yeah. Okay, my family moved to a new neighborhood. That can be jarring. That could absolutely make you not feel safe, right? Taking care of siblings, children are not supposed to take care of children. You could be the most responsible person in the world, but you could also feel not safe taking care of other people because you don't really have the power to discipline them. You don't really know what they should be doing. You're trying to figure your own stuff out. And when you're taking care of siblings, you have to put your needs to the back, right? Parents separating. I can see how that creates a feeling of not being safe, right? Attacked by a neighbor, lack of safety. Parents divorce and abuse, family constantly moving, violence in the house, lack of safety. If like not having it as a child made me see that I wanted the opposite. Okay, lack of safety. My dad got sick and passed away. These changes, all these things create a lack of safety. Having to support yourself. Having to support yourself too early is freaking traumatic. Okay, it's traumatic as hell. And nobody acknowledges that. It's like if you know how to work a job and you know how to like do stuff, taking care of yourself is a whole mental and emotional task though, that children don't know, they're not ready for it, Mother was on drugs and had several children. We moved to a shelter, lack of safety. So you see how tenderness cannot survive when there's a threat to our safety, right? And so we've got these 10-year-old, 11-year-old, 13, 15-year-old girls still experiencing that wound, still saying, hell no. No. Because where there's no safety, there's also no trust, right? So it's like, But she's seeing, so if you're 30 and you got a 13-year-old telling you that something isn't safe, you can't really trust the 13-year-old with that. But the 13-year-old is still running the show, right? So trauma, we have trauma because there's not a witness, right? Something happens in our lives. And if you look at this whole list of things that's happening, very rarely is there someone to say, oh my God, I know how hard this is for you. You should not be going through this. We're going to make sure that you're okay. Was said by no one, seems like, in the Black community, especially for Black kids, because we're so objectified in how we're raised. It's like we're meant to be seen and not heard. So it's not like we have emotions or like we're even real people. This is what makes the Black mother wound different from a regular mother wound. It's the systematic objectification that we learned from chattel slavery that's passed down, right? Yes. Well, losing your tenderness, shutting down is you will lose your tenderness if you shut down emotionally. You absolutely will. Because there's no safety. If you have someone interrogating you or saying certain things and they're an authority figure and you don't have power, then there's definitely a loss of safety there. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a conversation with that wounded girl. So you remember the age you were and you remember what happened, right? So we're going to do an inner child healing exercise. This is one of my mainstays in healing, because it's really about how you build that relationship with yourself and how you begin to mother yourself, right? And in a way that you didn't get from your biological mother or grandmother or that caretaker, right? So this is how it works. You're gonna close your eyes, cross your hands, and you put your hand over your chest, okay? Hands over your chest, and we're gonna take 3 deep breaths. You're gonna breathe in deep through your nose, and then you're gonna breathe out through your mouth like you're blowing out candles. So first breath, breathe in. Blow those candles out. Breathe in. Breathe it out. Last one. Deep inhale. Blow out the candles. Now I want you to get really quiet, and I want you to make a connection with that young girl inside of you. 10, 11, 13, 15 years old, who is no longer tender. She has begun to shut down emotionally. She's experienced something that has left her feeling scared and confused. Okay? So now you are going to repeat after me. That means I'm going to see your lips moving. And I can't hear you, but I want you to be able to audibly hear yourself. All of this is a part of the exercise, okay? So everything I say, you're going to say it. I'm so sorry that happened to you. You were just a young girl, and everyone's job was to keep you safe. And I'm so sorry they didn't do that. I'm so sorry that you felt scared. I'm so sorry you felt confused. I'm so sorry you felt lost. Someone should have been there for you. I wish somebody would have been there to explain everything and give you a sense of comfort. I understand how you went into survival mode. It makes perfect sense. You felt like you couldn't trust the people around you. So you had to just take care of yourself the best way you could. But that was too much for you. And that was never your job. And I'm so sorry you went through that. And I want you to know something. From here on out, I'm going to be here for you. You're supposed to feel light. You're supposed to feel free. You're supposed to feel safe. You are supposed to feel open to whatever emotions that you have. And from here on out, I'm going to create a safe space for that to happen. I know it's been a long time since you've had that. And it might be hard for you to trust me. But I know what you went through. And it's my job to make sure that it never happens again. You don't have to work so hard anymore. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to work so hard at protecting yourself. Because that's my job. You get to go about the business of being a child. You get to play. You get to laugh. You get to run. You get to color. And that's what you get to do. And I will do the rest. I acknowledge everything that you've been through. And you are beautiful. You are loved. You are safe. And you are the most important person in my life. And I will always, always, always be there for you. I want us to have a wonderful relationship. I want you to feel safe enough to come to me and talk to me when you need to. When you don't feel safe, I want you to tell me. When you feel ignored, I want you to tell me. I know it will take some time to build trust, but I'm committed to you. And I love you dearly. Are you open to us having this relationship? And I want you to listen for a reply. And if you get a yes, I want you to take your hands and cross them over your shoulders, and I want you to squeeze tight. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Give that little girl a hug. Give that little girl a hug. Give that little girl a hug. And if she's on the fence, because mofo's been acting up, I want you to let her know it's okay if you don't trust me. It's okay if you still feel a little iffy about me. I'm not going anywhere. Are you willing to give me a chance? Okay, we're gonna take another deep breath. Blow out the candles. Another deep breath. Blow out the candles. Right? Shake it out. Shake it out. We hold that energy in our bodies, right? I want you to shake it out. That's what the little girl does. She shakes it out. She shakes it out. Okay? Everybody here is safe. Everybody here is special. Everybody here is loved. Nothing can change that. Nothing can take that away. This is just an example of how you can do this work with yourself. When these things and these difficult emotions come up, that's all she needs is that tenderness. So often we're looking for the love of our mother when we're just looking for love, and we can give it to ourselves, right? Feeling safe enough to be tender. you know, allows us to ask for help when we need it. Who here has a problem asking for help when they need it? But when you can be tender with yourself, little girl said, she said, man, I don't know how to do that. We need some help. And you have promised that you will listen to her, right? You have promised to continue to cultivate that with her, right? So what's going on? Janelle, I'm gonna ask you to unmute yourself. Tell me about that experience, that exercise for you.
Man, I just felt all that emotion that came back again. And I just remember feeling so angry at my parents because I did have a really supportive community. Before we moved, I had teachers who cared for me. They were there in my life, supporting me, telling me, you know, you're gonna do something, giving me all that extra attention. And literally all of that went away. My parents, their relationship, for the first time, I realized how toxic it was at that age. And man, that little girl, like I can still see her with big old Coke bottle glasses and just, I just wish somebody would have told her that she was a queen just at that age.
How does it feel? How does she feel holding over all those things today?
She's a little skeptical.
It's okay.
Yeah,
Right?
she doesn't really trust anybody. But I just tell her, you know, I want to be the sister that you never had. My sister, I do have a biological sister.
Yeah, you're gonna be
She's,
the mother you didn't have.
yeah, that too.
So it's
Um,
really
yeah. My sister is 11 years older than me, so she thinks she my mama.
I see. She's sister.
Yes, and that's why I feel like if I had had that kind of relationship where my mom could be my mom and I didn't have my sister thinking she was my mom and she could just be my sister and we could just be siblings and related and be friends. I wanted that so bad.
What do you get to have now? Now, what do you get with that girl inside?
Somebody who's supportive, somebody who listens, no matter how weird or whatever it is I think I'm doing that seems different. Somebody's like, yes, go do that thing. Whatever it is that makes your heart smile, just keep doing that.
Because that is what tenderness is all about, right? And it's about how we cultivate that, right? And
Yeah.
how you know what that feels like. You know what that feels like right now. Everybody knows what it feels like to be supported right now, whether you feel it from me or you feel it from yourself, right? You know how it kind of calms your system down, right? Now you have that example when it comes to other relationships in your life. You're like, how do I feel like how my parents made me feel, or do I feel like I did that day on that class with Jennifer where I feel soothed? Because it's not hard, you know, it's not hard to see your goodness, you know. We believe that based off of those old experiences, right? But those things really aren't hard to see. And it's about continuing to cultivate. It makes sense that she will be skeptical. That's why I said, let her know that it's okay. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to continue to build that relationship with you. Right? So thank you so much for sharing. So Tatiana, how has not being tender showed up in your regular life, in your everyday life? What does that look like? How does that look, not being tender?
How does not being tender? I think that we talked about it in the beginning that people, when I'm not tender, I would say that I come off as that person who can hold it together for everybody. Like I'm the person everybody goes to because I can handle all things, and I'm the support for others. And I think that when I grew up, me not having any of that tenderness from my mom, my parents, like it wasn't a thing. That for me, I just knew I didn't know what tenderness looked like as a kid. I just knew that I was getting the opposite and I wanted something different. So I think that now in my adult life, I think I am a people pleaser and a giver because I want to show up and I don't want people to feel the way I had to feel. And now I guess I'm at a space where I'm just creating boundaries and what that looks like and making sure I'm not giving so much to where my cup is left empty.
Right. Because on the outside, it looks like you do have it all together, but inside, you're like, what?
I'm falling apart with everybody else.
Right. But you don't think that you can ask anybody to be there for you.
Oh
Right?
yeah. Yep. So my tenderness looks like people talked about being more vulnerable, and people can't know that you're not okay if we don't tell them we're not okay.
Right.
So I think that that's something that I'm learning, that it's okay to not be okay.
Right. Yeah.
And thank you, Crystal.
Yes. So that also, for us, that means us being able to tell ourselves we're not okay. Because a lot of times, I'm fine. I'm fine. Let me just go to Dunkin' Donuts and get me a cup of coffee. I'm fine. I got this. I'm good. No, I'm not fine. I feel shitty today. I'm scared. This whole whatever is happening got me feeling a little uneasy. You know what I'm saying? I'm angry about something that somebody said, something that came up. I feel this kind of way. I feel confused. And tenderness allows us to slow it down enough to acknowledge what we're thinking and what we're feeling, enough to soothe it, right? When you have a baby, that baby cry, he got gas. That's a gassy cry, or that's a hungry cry. All of these types of things, and you start to really get to know that baby. You know what time they're going to wake up in the morning. If they eat this food, you know exactly what's about to happen, like clockwork. You get to know yourself that way as well. If you had a stressful day, at work, and then you have rush hour traffic, you're not going to want to go out with your people, even though you said you were going to go. So you go ahead and you call them because you're like, oh, I'm tired. How do I soothe myself? I'm not going. How do I soothe myself? I'm not cooking tonight. Let me call Bay and tell him, go ahead and order something in because, the kitchen is closed. Oh, I'm not going to watch TV tonight. I'm feeling kind of emotional. I just want to soak in the tub. I want to read a good book. Getting to know what you need. This healing is about the relationship you have with yourself. And it's such an amazing opportunity because I always tell people it's not lost. We think if we didn't get it from our mothers, that it's lost. Oh, if I would have been able to have this, then I would be here now. Nothing is lost. Where you want to be, you can still get there. It doesn't matter who is loving on you. Because really the only person that can give it to you is you, because you're the only person that knows all those pockets of things that happened, right? You ever go off on somebody for something small and they like, the hell? She crazy. That wasn't even about nothing. All I said was, babe, pass me the pepper, and you going off. They don't know that your daddy threw the pepper across the room and broke the glass, and that was the last time when your mama moved out, and all this shit right there, right? You're the only person who knows that story, right? So you're really the only person that can meet yourself at those different places, right? So we can do this in the chat. What are some ways you're going to express tenderness now? How are you going to express tenderness with yourself? This don't have nothing to do with nobody else. How are you going to soothe yourself? What are some places that you need to specifically apply tenderness right now? Okay, gentle self-talk around what area? Okay, this is somebody, their stuff is just called iPhone, so I don't know their name. So self-talk around what? What do you need to talk about gently to yourself? Danita, what emotions do you need to acknowledge this week and next week? What's an emotion you know that you need to catch and acknowledge and soothe? Right. Yes. So okay, Tatiana, knowing that my love for myself is enough. How are you going to practice that? Remember, this is about healing is not just a thought. It is how you express it in your actions. So how are your actions, how are your actions going to show that you're being tender with yourself? Right. Okay. So Erica, what's something that you are used to blaming yourself for and thinking that everything is basically your fault? What's something that you know that may be coming up that you need to be mindful? Yes. Yes. Patience around getting things done like cleaning and finances. Yeah. So it's like, I want to clean my baseboards. I'll get to it. You know what? It's on my list. It doesn't mean that I'm nasty. It doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It doesn't mean I don't care about my house. It just means that I have other things to do. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go and get some new sponges. I'm going to go to Family Dollar and get me a new bucket and get some new gloves. See, these are things you can do to like, oh, okay, I'll move toward that. Okay, I'm getting my finances in order. You know, I'm going to pull all my bills out this weekend, you know, and I'm just going to be gentle with myself. You know I want to be mindful of my money. I know the more mindful I am of my money, the more money that's going to show up in my life. I want to be a good steward of money. You know, maybe I just need some support around that. Maybe, you know, I can look up a spreadsheet on how to do my budgeting or my finances. Maybe I have a friend or family member that's good at that type of thing. And I can call them and say, you know, if I take you out to coffee, or can we do a call and you help me out with that? Because, you know, I'm not really sure. That's fucking amazing. That is so vulnerable. That is how you advocate for yourself. That is how you get things done. That is what tenderness looks like in real world, you know. Right. What's something? Okay, Heidi, ask for what you need and ask for help. What's something? Heidi, what are 3 things you need to ask for help about? What are 3 things? Put it in the chat that you know you need help with. Creating boundaries with people who are negative. What does that look like? How do you create a boundary with someone who is negative? What would you do? Tell me what you would do to create that boundary, because a boundary is accountability. A boundary isn't about changing somebody else's behavior. It's about making sure that that behavior is not inflicted on you. So what does that look like? Give yourself permission to feel and not rush through your feelings. Right, absolutely. Yes, knowing that your creative projects are amazing and then celebrating your work, even if nobody's giving you money for them right now. It's easy when somebody's giving you some money for them, but even in what does it feel like? What makes your creative projects amazing? It's like, oh man, because I'm a painter. It's like when I paint, it's like meditation. I just love colors. I love turquoise and lime green and yellows and umbers. And it just feels so good to see all of that out. And it feels good to give myself time to play and just explore and just do whatever I want on the canvas. That's tenderness. That's how you talk to yourself in a tender way. Yes. If all else fails, block them from your phone and your life. Absolutely. Have a talk with them. Yes. This is how I would like to be treated. If you're not able to treat me this way, then this is what will happen. And then if they don't abide by what your boundary is, then that needs to happen. And then you let yourself know, I deserve to be treated with love and respect. I deserve people around me who want to nurture me and pour into me and who are kind to me. I deserve to be around people who are consistent. You deserve to be around people who see you as a priority. You're a really good person. You're so easy to love. I just love being around you. I want you to be happy. Anybody that's around you that makes you feel uncomfortable, you don't have to be around them. You don't have to be around anybody that makes you feel anything less than amazing. That's tenderness. That's how you talk to your inner child. See, I just close my eyes. I just fall all into it because this is a part of my regular practice. And it's going to feel hokey in the beginning, but that does not matter, right? Absolutely, yes. I will stop being cheap or operating from anxiety with finances by being open to houses in my full. Right, yeah, look at what you can afford and make that good enough. Be happy with what you have. Be happy with what you've accomplished. Be happy along the route, being patient with yourself. All of these are ways that we can be tender with ourselves. Imagine you're talking to a 3-year-old. How would you talk to a 3-year-old about these things? You would lower your voice, right? And you would talk nice and slow, and you would use soft words, and you would be comforting, and you would use loving touch, and you put on some nice music. All of those things you deserve, because you're not talking to the 30-year-old you, the 40-year-old you. You're talking to the 8-year-old you. You're talking to the 10-year-old you, the 13-year-old you. So you have to think about how they receive information. Think about how you received information at 12 and 13. When my mama tells me something like, you better sit down, I'm gonna knock your damn head off. A 13-year-old does not receive that well, right? That's not how you talk to them. It's not how you talk to anybody that you love. How do you talk to someone that you love, right? Juanita, how you talk to, if that cat could talk, how would you talk to that cat? Because I know you love that damn cat. You would be just as gentle and
She was typing in the chat and I didn't even realize it. That's what that was. But I practice talking to her very gently and lovingly. And even when she was over here, I was like, okay, go. And I was like, you know what? I got time. I got time to love on you, even while I'm receiving.
you throw yourself across the room.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And every time we show up for somebody else with tenderness and we don't show up for ourselves that way, it's abusive. You turn into your mother. Everything you wish that she wasn't, you are when you do that, when you abandon yourself. Crystal, was that a light bulb moment?
Yeah, that was yeah.
Every time.
Because as you were saying that, like as you were talking about tenderness, I was just thinking about how I can identify how I'm tender with everyone else, but as soon as it comes to me on a daily basis, probably hourly basis, I'm like beating myself up. Man, I should have got up earlier. If I would have got up earlier, I could have did this. If I would have, I need to clean up. But look, I don't even have the time to do this because nobody will help me. But if you would have had this stuff together already, Crystal, if you would have did what you needed to do, you could have already had this. Like, this is what I'm doing to myself on a daily basis. But I'm so tender with my sister. I'm so tender with my nieces and nephews, with my family, just like everybody's just like, you're so loving and you're so caring. But then when I think about the words and stuff that I say to myself, you're very right. Like, it's me almost repeating the words like that my mom kind of, or like that whole rhetoric. She may not have said those words directly, but it's that same process of you're not good enough. You're like, you didn't do enough. You're not good enough. You need to do more. You need to like prove yourself, like your self-worth. And it's just, yeah.
How is that working? Who here knows? How's that working out? We do that shit. How's it working? Is it working? That is also the, and so many of us relate to that, right? That's why what's specific about the Black mother wound, because that is about our anti-Blackness, right? Because you supposed to know every damn thing. That's chattel slavery, right? Regardless of what you're going through, you must produce. The only value you have is in your production. Period. If you're not producing, you ain't shit, you ain't worth shit. That is the message that was passed down to us. And our parents don't even realize that messaging comes from like the 1600s, 1700s. All of that is being passed down to us, right? When our value is conditional. Because if you're tired, you can't produce. If you're sick, you can't produce. If you're old, you can't produce. If anything can happen and you can't produce, you don't have a car, all these different things. So then your value is tied to what you have and what you can do and what other people, how other people assign value to those tasks. So it's really about redefining our value, and that it has nothing to do with the production. It has to do with how we feel about ourselves and knowing inherently that we are like everybody else. We are good people with flaws, right? And most of y'all think y'all should be doing something. And then if somebody else would look at you, be like, girl, you are doing good. I had a class last month and the girl was saying like, she should be able to like, oh, she wanted to move and she should be able to get this done and da-da-da-da-da. And she's 27 years old and she should know it by now. I'm like, I'm almost 47. And when I move, I want to leave the lights on, the toothbrush. I want to leave everything in the house. I just want to walk away. That brings up anxiety for me, and I'm 47. So this pressure we put on ourselves to be able to do something by some point is abusive. It wreaks havoc on our nervous system. So what we're doing is we're learning how to have, yes, I mean, it is anti-Black, how to have tenderness. So it's like, you know what, if you would have gotten up earlier, then you could have gotten dressed and you could have got that done by now. But no, you laid your ass in the bed and now you behind. I didn't get up when I should have. And now I'm just going to have to I'm just going to have to do it another day. But I sure did sleep good. It's okay. I mean, there's always going to be something else for me. I'm never going to get it all done. So it's okay. Okay, I didn't get it done. You know what I'll do? Tonight, I'm going to go to bed early, or I'm going to put it on my calendar, or it's not really something I should be doing anyway. So let me call that person and put it back on their plate, because you know what? I don't want to do it. That's what the truth is. I really don't want to do it. And it's really not a priority for me. So I don't know why I'm pressing myself. Right? Right, Crystal? It's like, that's tenderness. When you can give yourself, when you're tender, you give yourself the honor of being honest about what's really happening. So now it went from, damn, I should have got up earlier and got this done, to, I'm never going to do it. I ain't doing this shit. I don't want to do it. Or if it's something that really is important, there's a reason I feel confused about it. I feel kind of anxious. I'm going to call and talk to somebody about that today, because, you know, there's something else, because I know I'm a hardworking person and I do what I say I'm going to do. So there's something else going on there. That is grace. Somebody talked about what tenderness looks like. It looked like grace. That's what grace looks like. You having permission to change your mind, to switch it up. And the only constant, your achievement, is that you feel good about yourself. Okay, what is the option that makes me feel best about myself? Let's run through the fucking gamut. Which option leaves me feeling best about myself? Not what they like, not what they say, not what they think. Which option makes me feel best about myself? That's the one I'm committed to, because that is what that girl inside of you, that's what she requires. Does that make sense? All of this pressure. And then what happens is when you're tender with yourself, you end up doing the things that you really enjoy doing. You end up being around the people that you really enjoy being around. You get a chance to express yourself in a way that's unique to who you are. And then guess what happens? The right people come, the right opportunities come. All of those things start to work themselves out without you doing all of that. Does that make sense? So what I want y'all to look at is, what are 2 areas of your life that are being impacted by you not being tender with yourself? What are commitments that you have made to others? And maybe even a commitment you made to yourself that is requiring you to abandon yourself, that makes you not feel safe. And then I want you to go through the gamut of the options and what option does make you feel safe. And I would love for you to send me an email at info@blackmotherwound.com, info@blackmotherwound.com. And tell me what it is. What is that area? And then how do you plan over this next couple of weeks? What's your strategy for being tender with yourself, and what's stopping you? Is it what other people will think? Is it your fear of being rejected even more? Is it that people won't support you in that you just don't know how to do it, that you don't feel worthy of it?
Excuse me, Jennifer, can you repeat the question?
What are 2 areas in your life where you need to apply tenderness? What are 2 areas in your life where you don't feel safe? Doesn't mean physically safe like somebody's trying to get you, but where you feel where the tension catches you. Is it a task? Is it a commitment you made? Is it someone in your life where you have emotionally abandoned your own self? And then I want you to create a strategy using everything we've done here today, and everybody's going to get a replay of this, so you can go back and you can listen to it as many times as you like. A strategy for applying tenderness in those areas. So y'all have your work cut out for you. You have that, and you have your inner child work, right? You have that practicing of tenderness with you, and you get a chance to be tender with yourself all day because you're beating yourself up all damn day. So you get a chance to catch it. Even if you do it, to be able to come back and be like, oh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have talked to you like that. I'm sorry. I know you're doing the best you can. My bad. My bad. You good. It's fine. You can apologize to yourself. You can come back and you get another chance to fix it, right? I'm always apologizing because my mouth beats something else, right? So you have that opportunity. This is what healing your Black mother wound looks like, right? And as you see, it's completely centered around you. Has nothing to do with anybody else, right? And the more you do this, remember how I said in the beginning, you have a self-healing mechanism emotionally, and it will start to, you'll see it. It'll start to happen even more. And then you'll find yourself like feeling light, you feel like, frisky, the more you work it, the more it works. Okay. Well, that's it, y'all. That's the class. How was it? I'm so glad y'all came. I'm so glad y'all participated. I'm so glad you all are doing this work. I'm so glad you're committed to healing your life and showing up differently, because it will change your whole life. Okay, it will change everything. Y'all are so welcome. If you have any questions, my email is in the chat. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, if you want to ask me about anything, just holler at your girl. Stay tuned for when you're more than welcome. When you see an email from me, take me out promo and put me in your regular emails, because there's a lot more stuff that's going to be coming this summer. So I want y'all to just, be on the lookout for that. And I love y'all. Y'all are so special. There is so much goodness in you. You deserve the best of everything. You deserve the best of everything. You deserve all the tenderness. You deserve all the lightness. There's nothing that you've ever done in your life that can take that away from you. There's no experience, nothing. And I always tell my clients, I'm like, y'all don't know the shit I've done. And nothing changes that I love the shit out of me. And I'm a good person, and I deserve to be loved and supported and respected and nurtured. And so I know the same goes for y'all. Period. At all costs. Okay? So I will see y'all later. Some of y'all may have already signed up for the May class. If not, we do this every month, same bat channel, new topic. So I look forward to, just us growing in this community, and I'll see y'all later. And if you don't have the replay tonight, then you'll have it tomorrow. So I'll see y'all later.